Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they choose comfort over strategy. They choose belonging over mastery. They choose the safety of the crowd over the silence of preparation. And the crowd will always reward mediocrity. If you want to become extraordinary, you must understand something brutal. The extraordinary do not move like the masses. They do not think like the masses. They do not react like the masses. They operate by design. Master the battlefield within. Before you attempt to conquer the world, conquer your impulses. The average person is ruled by emotion. They lash out when criticized. They shrink when challenged. They speak without listening. They move without assessing. But the extraordinary? They study the terrain before taking a single step. Your terrain is your mind. Where are your weaknesses? Where are you predictable? Where do you overreact? Where do you crave validation? An undisciplined mind is an open flank. If someone can provoke you easily, they control you. If someone can flatter you easily, they steer you. If someone can distract you easily, they defeat you. So you train. You observe yourself like a general surveying a map. You remove unnecessary battles. You conserve energy. You strike only where it matters. That alone will make you different from 90% of the population. Move with calculated silence. The masses announce their goals. They post them. They talk about them. They argue about them. But strategy is quiet. When you are building something extraordinary, silence is not weakness. It is concealment. You do not need applause to execute. You do not need validation to advance. You need clarity. Study people before revealing your position. Observe dynamics before asserting dominance. Listen more than you speak. When you speak less, your words carry weight. When you reveal less, your movements create surprise. The extraordinary do not waste energy proving themselves. They let results speak. Win without creating enemies. Power is not brute force. Power is influence. You can bulldoze your way through life, but you'll walk alone. Or you can understand something deeper. People move when they feel understood. The masses demand. The extraordinary persuade. They remember names. They notice effort. They ask questions and genuinely listen. They elevate others publicly and correct them privately. Why? Because loyalty built through respect is stronger than fear built through intimidation. If you want to rise above the group mind, you must master human nature. Do not embarrass. Do not attack egos. Do not correct with arrogance. Instead, guide, suggest, invite. When people feel like they chose the path, they will defend it fiercely. This is how you build alliances instead of resistance. Adapt faster than the crowd. The masses cling to certainty. They say, this is how it's always been done. They defend outdated identities. They argue for comfort. But the extraordinary are fluid. They change tactics without changing vision. If one path closes, they pivot. If a strategy fails, they adjust. If new information appears, they evolve. Adaptation is not weakness. It is survival at the highest level. Rigid minds break under pressure. Flexible minds bend and strike back. Do not marry your methods. Marry your mission. Study human weakness, starting with your own. Every system has pressure points. Every individual has vulnerabilities, including you. If you refuse to examine your own flaws, life will expose them publicly. So you confront them privately. Are you impatient? You train patience. Are you insecure? You build competence. Are you reactive? You practice stillness. The extraordinary are ruthless with self-honesty. They do not blame the system. They do not blame their past. They do not blame the crowd. They refine themselves until their weaknesses become strengths. And when they study others, it is not to manipulate. It is to understand. Because understanding people is leverage. When you understand what motivates someone, recognition, security, pride, belonging, you can communicate in a way that aligns with their desires. Alignment creates momentum. Separate from the group mind. The group mind is loud. It tells you to follow trends. It tells you to seek approval. It tells you to fit in. But fitting in is the enemy of extraordinary. You were not built to be another voice in the echo chamber. The extraordinary often walk alone in the beginning. They think differently. They question narratives. They refuse emotional contagion. When panic spreads, they remain calm. When gossip spreads, they remain silent. When outrage spreads, they remain focused. This is discipline at a psychological level. You do not inherit the mood of the crowd. You choose your state deliberately. That alone will set you apart. Make others feel powerful. Here is a paradox most never understand. If you want to become powerful, make others feel powerful around you. The masses compete for attention. The extraordinary distribute it wisely. When you acknowledge someone's effort, you earn their respect. When you seek their perspective, you earn their loyalty. When you let them take ownership, you earn their commitment. The strongest leaders are not those who shout the loudest. They are those who make others rise. When people feel valued, they align with your vision willingly. And that alignment multiplies your impact. Choose long-term victory over short-term emotion. The average person fights every battle. They argue online. They respond to every insult. They chase every opportunity. But the extraordinary choose their battles. Not every provocation deserves a response. Not every opportunity deserves your energy. Not every fight leads to victory. You ask, does this move advance my position? Does this conversation strengthen my influence? Does this decision build the future I want? If the answer is no, you walk away. Walking away strategically is strength. You are not here to win moments. You are here to win decades. Train in the shadows. Becoming extraordinary is not glamorous. It is repetitive. It is disciplined. It is often invisible. While others are distracted, you are sharpening. While others are complaining, you are learning. While others are broadcasting, you are building. Skill compounds, character compounds, reputation compounds, and one day, the world will call you gifted or lucky. But they won't see the quiet years of preparation. That is the price of being different. Final truth. To become extraordinary, you must accept isolation, discipline, strategic thinking, emotional mastery, and social intelligence, all at once. You must be calm when others panic, kind when others attack, focused when others scatter, adaptable when others freeze. You must understand people deeply, yet not be ruled by them. You must stand apart from the masses, yet know how to lead them. That is the paradox. The extraordinary are not reckless rebels. They are disciplined architects of their own destiny. So ask yourself, are you reacting to life? Or are you positioning yourself within it? Are you following noise? Or are you studying patterns? Are you seeking approval? Or are you building power? Quietly. The crowd will always be there. But the path of the extraordinary, it is narrow, it is silent, it is deliberate, and it is waiting for those bold enough to think differently and disciplined enough to execute without applause. Step 1. Conduct a ruthless self-assessment. This is where almost everyone quits, not because it's physically hard, but because it requires something most people avoid their entire lives: unfiltered honesty. If you want to become extraordinary, you must first dismantle the illusion you have about yourself. You cannot upgrade a system you refuse to diagnose. For the next 7 days, you are not the hero of your story. You are the analyst, the strategist, the observer studying a subject under a microscope. That subject is you. Stop protecting your ego. Your ego is not your ally right now. It will whisper excuses. It's not my fault. They misunderstood me. I just need better circumstances. I would be further ahead if... No. That mindset is common, and common is the enemy of extraordinary. Instead, ask sharper questions. Where do I consistently lose control of my emotions? Where do I over-explain because I crave approval? Where do I procrastinate and call it planning? Where do I perform confidence but secretly feel insecure? Where do I avoid confrontation because I fear rejection? Where do I dominate conversations because I fear invisibility? Do not answer lightly. Write the answers down. Patterns will begin to emerge. Extraordinary individuals understand that weakness ignored becomes weakness exploited. Track your reactions in real time. For 7 days, treat every emotional spike as data. Anger, write it down. Jealousy, write it down. Defensiveness, write it down. Anxiety, write it down. What triggered it? What story did you tell yourself? What action did you take? You're mapping your internal battlefield. Most people drift through life unaware of their own predictable reactions. But predictability is vulnerability. If you always get defensive when criticized, you are easy to manipulate. If you always seek praise before acting, you are easy to steer. If you always avoid discomfort, you will never gain leverage. Your emotional reactions reveal your weak points, and weak points must be reinforced, not hidden. Identify your energy leaks. Extraordinary people guard energy like currency. Ask yourself, where do I waste mental energy? Who drains me consistently? What habits weaken my focus? What conversations pull me into negativity? What digital distractions fracture my discipline? You cannot build power while leaking energy. Every scroll, every unnecessary argument, every comparison, every internal spiral, it all costs. Audit it, then decide what gets cut. Discipline is subtraction. Before, it is addition. Separate identity from behavior. This part is critical. You are not lazy. You have lazy patterns. You are not insecure. You have insecure triggers. You are not weak. You have weak habits. Detach identity from behavior so you can correct behavior without self-destruction. The masses either deny flaws or drown in shame. The extraordinary do neither. They observe, they diagnose, they adjust, calmly, strategically, without drama. Choose one weakness to attack. Do not overwhelm yourself. Select the flaw that costs you the most power. Maybe it's impulsiveness. Maybe it's people-pleasing. Maybe it's procrastination. Maybe it's fear of visibility. Maybe it's arrogance. Pick one, then ask, if I corrected this single flaw, how much stronger would my position become? Focus your effort there for 30 days. Small, focused improvement compounds faster than scattered ambition. Why? This step separates you from the crowd. The group mind avoids discomfort. It blames, it rationalizes, it compares, it distracts itself. But you sit in the discomfort of truth. You study your own patterns. You take responsibility without self-hatred. You replace excuses with strategy. This is not glamorous. There will be moments you don't like what you see. Good. That discomfort is proof you are evolving beyond the masses. Because becoming extraordinary does not start with applause. It starts with confronting the parts of yourself you've been protecting. When you complete this step, something shifts. You become harder to provoke, harder to manipulate, harder to distract. You move from unconscious reaction to conscious control. And once you control yourself, you are no longer just another participant in the crowd. You are positioning yourself above it. Step 2. Build emotional control through delayed reaction. This is where power begins to feel real. Not imagined power, not loud power, not performative dominance. Real power. Because the person who controls their reactions controls their outcomes. Most people believe strength is intensity. Raising your voice, firing back instantly, defending yourself the moment your ego feels threatened. But intensity without control is weakness in disguise. If someone can trigger you at will, they own a piece of your nervous system. And if they own your nervous system, they influence your decisions. Extraordinary individuals understand something the masses don't. Emotional reaction is predictable. Predictability is exploitable. So, they build a delay. The 10-minute rule. For the next 30 days, you will not respond immediately to emotional spikes. Anger? Wait 10 minutes. Offense? Wait 10 minutes. Excitement? Wait 10 minutes. Urgency? Wait 10 minutes. You are retraining your system. Because most mistakes in life are not intellectual errors. They are emotional misfires. The wrong text sent in anger. The wrong investment made in hype. The wrong argument escalated by ego. The wrong opportunity chased because it felt urgent. Emotion compresses time. Delay expands clarity. When you wait, your higher reasoning returns online. That alone separates you from the group mind. Understand what happens inside you. When you are triggered, your body moves faster than your logic. Heart rate rises. Breathing shifts. Muscles tense. Thoughts narrow. You become reactive. In that state, you are not strategic. You are defensive. Extraordinary individuals train themselves to recognize the signal. Something is rising inside me. Instead of acting, they observe. That observation creates distance, and distance creates choice. Choice is power. Practice controlled exposure. You don't wait for life to test you. You train in small moments. Someone interrupts you, pause before correcting them. Someone criticizes you, ask a clarifying question instead of defending. Someone praises you excessively. Don't get inflated. Stay centered. Even positive emotion requires discipline. Because overexcitement leads to overcommitment. Overcommitment leads to overextension. Balance is strength. Replace reaction with inquiry. When triggered, ask, what exactly am I feeling? What belief is being challenged? What outcome do I actually want here? If I respond emotionally, what does that cost me? This shifts you from impulse to intention. The crowd reacts to protect ego. The extraordinary respond to protect position. There is a difference. Master the neutral face. Another exercise. In conversations, especially tense ones, maintain physical composure. Relax your jaw. Slow your breathing. Keep your tone steady. Body control reinforces emotional control. When others escalate and you remain grounded, something interesting happens. They lose leverage. Your calmness unsettles chaos. Your stability reframes the interaction, and people begin to measure their words more carefully around you. Presence replaces volatility. Why this makes you different? The mass population lives in reaction loops, outrage cycles, trend cycles, emotion emotional contagion, collective panic, collective excitement. They inherit emotional states from headlines, social feeds, and group opinions. But you choose your state deliberately. You do not absorb every emotional wave. You evaluate before engaging. That makes you rare. Emotional discipline builds reputation. Over time, people notice something. You don't overreact. You don't panic. You don't crumble under pressure. You don't explode under criticism. You become seen as stable. Stability attracts responsibility. Responsibility attracts opportunity. Opportunity builds influence. All from one skill: delayed reaction. The hidden advantage. Here's the deeper layer. When you stop reacting instantly, you begin to see patterns. You notice who tries to provoke. You notice who tests boundaries. You notice who thrives on chaos. You notice who respects composure. You gather intelligence. And intelligence informs strategy. The crowd burns energy emotionally. You conserve it strategically. What happens after 30 days? If you truly practice this for a month, you will feel different. Slower, calmer, less impulsive, more deliberate. Your speech becomes sharper because it is filtered. Your decisions become stronger because they are not rushed. Your confidence grows because you are no longer controlled by every emotional fluctuation. You stop being pulled. You start positioning. And once you realize you can control your reactions, you realize you can control your direction. That is when the shift begins. You are no longer just surviving circumstances. You are shaping them. And that is the beginning of becoming extraordinary. Step 3. Reduce your verbal output by 30%. This step feels small. It is not. Most people talk themselves into weakness every single day. They overshare. They over-explain. They defend before being attacked. They reveal plans before execution. They argue to feel intelligent. And in doing so, they leak power. If you want to become extraordinary, you must understand this. Words are currency. The more recklessly you spend them, the less they are worth. Silence is not insecurity. The group mind equates loudness with confidence. But the strongest presence in the room is often the one observing. When you reduce your verbal output by 30%, you immediately begin to listen more carefully. Notice tone shifts. Detect insecurity in others. Recognize manipulation attempts. Identify opportunity gaps. Most people are so busy preparing their next sentence that they miss the entire dynamic unfolding in front of them. Extraordinary individuals study the room. They gather data before positioning themselves. Silence sharpens perception. Stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. Here is a brutal truth. When you over-explain, you signal doubt. You don't need to justify every decision. You don't need to defend every preference. You don't need to narrate your reasoning unless strategically required. Practice saying, "That's the direction I'm going. I've thought it through. I'll handle it." Then, stop talking. Let the weight of brevity settle. Confidence feels different when it isn't padded with extra language. Ask, then wait. Instead of filling space, ask sharper questions. What makes you think that? How do you see this playing out? What outcome are you aiming for? Then stay quiet. People reveal far more than they intend when given space. They expose insecurities. They expose priorities. They expose motivations. And once you understand motivations, you understand leverage. You cannot influence what you do not understand. And you cannot understand if you are constantly speaking. Resist the urge to impress. One of the strongest habits to break is the need to prove intelligence. When someone shares something you already know, don't interrupt to demonstrate superiority. Let them finish. When someone makes a mistake in reasoning, don't rush to correct unless necessary. Correction without strategy creates resistance. Sometimes the strongest move is allowing someone to arrive at their own realization. You are not here to win conversations. You are here to win positioning. Practice controlled disclosure. Extraordinary individuals do not reveal everything at once. They understand timing. You don't announce every goal. You don't reveal every plan. You don't disclose every weakness to every person. You measure trust before disclosure. You measure alignment before vulnerability. The crowd broadcasts prematurely. The extraordinary build quietly. Surprise is an advantage. Develop the calm presence effect. When you speak less, something subtle happens. Your words begin to carry more gravity because they are not constant. When you finally offer an opinion, people listen more carefully. When you finally correct someone, it lands more strongly. When you finally state your vision, it feels deliberate. Scarcity increases value. That applies to language too. Silence under pressure. This is where mastery shows. When challenged, criticized, or provoked, most people rush to defend. Instead, pause. Maintain eye contact. Respond minimally. You might say, "That's interesting. I'll consider that. Tell me more." This does two things. It prevents emotional escalation. It forces the other person to continue revealing themselves. Often, people talk themselves into weakness when given enough room. Your restraint becomes dominance without aggression. Reduce noise consumption. 2. Reducing verbal output is not just about speaking. It's about internal noise. Stop consuming constant commentary. Stop reacting to every trending topic. Stop injecting yourself into debates that don't advance your mission. Mental silence strengthens strategic thought. When you're not overloaded with other people's opinions, your own thinking becomes sharper. What changes? After 30 days. If you genuinely reduce your verbal output by 30%, you will interrupt less. You will observe more. You will reveal less. You will control conversations rather than chase them. People will start describing you differently. Grounded, composed, thoughtful, hard to read. Hard to read is an advantage. Predictable personalities are easy to manipulate. Measured personalities are harder to corner. Why this separates you from the masses? The masses seek attention through noise. The extraordinary command attention through presence. Noise fades. Presence lingers. When you speak less, you conserve energy. When you conserve energy, you think clearly. When you think clearly, you move strategically. And when you move strategically, you stop being another voice in the crowd. You become the one people watch. Not because you demand attention, but because you don't need to. And that quiet confidence is rare. Rare becomes respected. Respected becomes influential. And influential becomes extraordinary. Step 4. Practice micro-influence daily. This is where most people misunderstand power. They think influence is dominance. They think it's authority, volume, control. They think it's forcing outcomes. But real influence is subtle. It is precise. It is psychological positioning done with restraint. And it is built in small daily moments. Not grand speeches, not dramatic gestures. Micro-influence. Understand the currency of human nature. Every person you interact with carries invisible needs. the need to feel significant, the need to feel heard, the need to feel competent, the need to feel respected. The masses ignore these needs. They interrupt, they dismiss, they correct publicly, they compete for attention. The extraordinary study these needs, because when you make someone feel understood, you lower their defenses. And when defenses lower, alignment becomes possible. The power of specific recognition. Most praise is generic. Good job. Nice work. That's surface level. Micro-influence requires specificity. I noticed how calm you stayed under pressure. You handled that objection intelligently. You've improved your attention to detail. Specific recognition signals awareness, and awareness signals respect. When someone feels genuinely seen, something shifts. They lean toward you. They trust you more. They defend your position more readily. This is not manipulation. It is intelligent acknowledgement. Ask before you advise. The average person jumps straight into correction. The extraordinary ask first. What do you think the next move is? How would you approach this? What's your perspective on it? When people articulate their own reasoning, they invest in the solution. If you correct without inquiry, you create resistance. If you guide through questions, you create ownership. Ownership breeds commitment, and commitment multiplies influence. Elevate publicly, correct privately. One of the fastest ways to build loyalty is this: praise in front of others, correct in private. Public embarrassment creates quiet enemies. Public recognition creates visible allies. If someone makes a mistake, don't weaponize it in front of a group. Address it calmly, one-on-one. Protect their dignity. People remember who preserved their pride, and they align with those who protect their image. Control the frame, not the force. In any interaction, there is a frame, the psychological lens through which the situation is interpreted. You don't control people by force. You control outcomes by controlling the frame. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," try, "Let's look at another angle." Instead of, "This won't work," try, "What challenges might we face with this approach?" Subtle shifts in language reduce friction. You guide without triggering ego. That's strategic influence. Master emotional temperature. Micro-influence also means managing emotional energy. If someone is heated, you lower your tone. If someone is uncertain, you increase clarity. If someone feels overlooked, you increase attention. You regulate the room instead of absorbing it. Most people mirror chaos. Extraordinary individuals stabilize it. Stability builds trust. Trust builds authority. Offer credit generously. The insecure hoard recognition. The strategic distribute it. If a project succeeds, highlight others' contributions. If an idea improves, credit the person who refined it. When you give credit away, two things happen. People feel valued. You are seen as confident enough not to compete for validation. Ironically, the more credit you give, the more influence you gain. Because people want to align with those who elevate them. Practice 1. Micro-action. Daily. Do not overcomplicate this step. Each day, intentionally practice at least one of these. Offer specific recognition. Ask for someone's opinion before giving yours. Reframe disagreement calmly. Protect someone's dignity. Share credit openly. Small actions compound. Influence is built through repetition, not intensity. Why this separates you from the crowd? The masses compete. They argue. They assert. They interrupt. They defend ego. But you guide, You listen, you acknowledge, you position. When people feel respected around you, they soften. When they soften, collaboration increases. When collaboration increases, outcomes improve. And slowly, something powerful begins to happen. People seek your input. They value your presence. They defer to your judgment. They defend your position. Not because you force them, because they trust you. The long game. Micro-influence is not about winning one conversation. It's about shaping your reputation over time. Are you seen as fair, composed, respectful, strategic, or reactive, dismissive, self-centered? Reputation compounds like interest. Every interaction deposits or withdraws. Choose deposits, the hidden strength. Here is the paradox. When you stop trying to dominate and start trying to understand, you gain leverage. When you stop trying to impress and start trying to elevate, you gain loyalty. When you stop trying to win arguments and start trying to win alignment, you gain momentum. This is the strategy of becoming extraordinary. You stand apart from the mass population not by noise, but by nuance. Not by aggression, but by awareness. Micro-influence practice daily transforms your presence. And presence, when sharpened, consistent, and intentional, becomes power. Step 5. Create a strategic isolation window. This is where the separation becomes undeniable. Because the masses fear isolation. They fear silence. They fear stillness. They fear being alone with their own thoughts. So they fill every empty space with noise. Scrolling, streaming, talking, reacting. But extraordinary individuals understand something the crowd avoids. Isolation is not loneliness. It is sharpening. The isolation window is non-negotiable. You will carve out 60 to 90 minutes every single day. Not when it's convenient. Not when you feel motivated. Not when your schedule magically opens. Every day. This time belongs to your advancement. No notifications, no conversations, no background noise, no broadcasting. This is sacred territory. And if you treat it casually, you remain average. Why isolation creates power. When you step away from constant input, 3 things happen. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your emotions stabilize. Your strategy deepens. Most people are mentally overcrowded. Their opinions are not even their own. They are echoes of what they consumed that day. Isolation detoxes the mind. It allows original thought to surface. And original thought is rare. Rare is powerful. Structure the window with intention. Do not sit and hope for productivity. Design the hour with precision. Divide it into 3 pillars. 1. Skill sharpening, 20 to 30 minutes. Study something that compounds. Communication, finance, psychology, physical training, strategic thinking. You are building tools, not chasing trends. 2. Strategic review, 20 to 30 minutes. Ask, what moved me forward today? What distracted me? What resistance did I encounter? What adjustment is necessary tomorrow? You are not drifting. You are calibrating. 3. Execution or conditioning, 20 to 30 minutes. Build something. Write. Train physically. Refine a project. Strengthen discipline. Isolation is not passive reflection. It is active refinement. Train without applause. This is where ego dies. You will build in silence. No one sees it. No one praises it. No one validates it. Good. Because if you require recognition to advance, you are still controlled by the crowd. Extraordinary people build foundations long before the spotlight appears. When results show up later, others call it talent. They never see the isolated hours. But you will. And that quiet confidence is unshakable. Confront internal resistance. The first week will be uncomfortable. Your mind will crave stimulation. You will feel the urge to check your phone, to respond to messages, to multitask. This is withdrawal from distraction. Stay with it. The ability to sit alone and focus is a competitive advantage in a distracted world. Most people cannot do it. If you can, you instantly elevate your capacity. Guard this window ruthlessly. Protect it like an asset. Do not give it away casually. If someone tries to intrude, reschedule, not cancel. Consistency builds identity, and identity builds discipline. After 30 days, you won't just do isolation. You will become someone who trains daily. That shift matters. Isolation builds psychological independence. When you regularly spend time alone improving yourself, something shifts internally. You stop needing constant validation. You stop fearing quiet. You stop being pulled into emotional contagion. You begin thinking independently. Independent thought is dangerous to the group mind because the group thrives on conformity. Isolation strengthens individuality, and individuality is where innovation lives. Physical training amplifies mental training. If possible, use part of this window for physical conditioning. Lift, run, stretch. Train discipline through discomfort. Physical effort reinforces mental resilience. When you willingly endure controlled discomfort, you build stress tolerance. Stress tolerance creates stability under pressure. Stability creates leadership presence. This is all connected. Compounding over time. 1 hour per day. That's 365 hours per year. That's over 9 full work weeks, dedicated purely to improvement. The masses waste that time in fragments. You consolidate it into power. Skill compounds. Confidence compounds. Clarity compounds. After 6 months, your thinking sharpens. After a year, your capability expands. After 2 years, you are unrecognizable. Not because of luck, because of disciplined isolation, the hidden edge. When challenges arise, and they will, you won't panic. Because you have trained in silence. You have reviewed strategy daily. You have strengthened your mind. You have built competence. Preparation reduces fear. Isolation builds preparation. The crowd reacts to pressure. You respond with clarity. Final perspective. The world rewards visible results, but visible results are born in invisible hours. If you want to be extraordinary, you must fall in love with the invisible phase, the repetition, the refinement, the solitude. While others consume, you create. While others distract, you sharpen. While others seek attention, you build leverage. And one day, when your position becomes undeniable, they will wonder how you advanced so far. They won't see the daily 60 to 90 minutes, but you will, because that was the forge, and you chose to step into it willingly. Step 6. Develop tactical adaptability. This is where intelligence separates itself from ego. The masses confuse stubbornness with strength. They cling to methods because they don't want to admit they were wrong. They double down on failing strategies because pride is louder than logic. They defend outdated beliefs because changing feels like weakness. But extraordinary individuals understand something deeper. The mission stays constant. The method evolves. If you attach your identity to your tactics, you will break the moment those tactics fail. And they will fail. Detach from your methods. You are not your strategy. You are not your plan. You are not your first idea. You are not your original approach. You are the architect. If a structure cracks, you redesign it. The crowd takes failure personally. They say, "This doesn't work. I'm not cut out for this." I guess this path isn't for me. No, it's the method that failed, not the mission. When something doesn't produce results, you ask, what assumption was incorrect? What variable did I underestimate? What resource am I lacking? What angle haven't I considered? This is adaptation, emotionally detached analysis, weekly strategic review. Once a week, you must sit down and evaluate your position, not casually, systematically. Ask yourself, what progress did I actually make? Where did momentum stall? What actions created results? What actions drained energy without return? Do not protect your ego in this review. Be surgical. If a habit isn't serving you, remove it. If a tactic isn't advancing you, replace it. If a routine is stagnating, refine it. Extraordinary people do not drift. They calibrate. Learn from resistance instead of fighting it. Resistance is information. If people push back on your approach, instead of reacting defensively, ask, is my communication unclear? Am I moving too fast? Is timing misaligned? Am I ignoring someone's incentive structure? Adaptation is not surrender. It is strategic refinement. The goal is not to bulldoze reality. The goal is to align with it intelligently. Water-shaped stone, not by force, but by adjustment. Be water with direction. Emotional flexibility is tactical strength. Sometimes adaptability isn't external, it's internal. Your mood will fluctuate, energy will dip, motivation will waver. The masses stop when emotion drops. The extraordinary adjust tempo without abandoning mission. Low energy day? Focus on planning instead of execution. Mental fatigue? Study instead of produce. Unexpected obstacle? Shift priority temporarily. Rigid intensity burns out. Flexible intensity endures. Endurance wins. Separate feedback from identity. Criticism is data, but only if you can hear it without collapsing or attacking. When someone challenges your approach, resist the urge to defend instantly. Pause. Ask, what part of this is useful? Is there truth here I can leverage? What blind spot might they see that I don't? Even critics sometimes hold information. You don't need to absorb their emotion. Just extract the lesson. Adaptation requires humility without insecurity. Change speed without changing direction. Sometimes the mission is correct, but the pace is wrong. The masses either rush impulsively or quit prematurely. Extraordinary individuals adjust pacing. If growth is too slow, intensify effort. If burnout approaches, optimize recovery. If opportunity appears, accelerate decisively. Adaptation is dynamic movement. Static positioning leads to irrelevance. The world changes constantly. So must your approach. Stay mission-centered, not method-centered. Your core objective must remain stable. Who are you becoming? What are you building? What values anchor you? Those remain fixed. Everything else is adjustable. If technology changes, adapt. If markets shift, adapt. If social dynamics evolve, adapt. The mission is your compass. Tactics are your tools. Never confuse the two. Why this separates you from the crowd. The group mind hates uncertainty. It prefers comfort over correction. It would rather defend a losing strategy than admit recalibration is needed. But you treat life like a chessboard. Every move is followed by observation. Every setback becomes data. Every adjustment refines your edge. You do not crumble under change. You reposition within it. That makes you resilient. Resilience creates longevity. Longevity creates dominance. Adaptation prevents stagnation. Stagnation feels safe. It's familiar. It's predictable. It requires no rethinking. But stagnation kills growth. Adaptability keeps you sharp. You evolve faster than your environment expects. You anticipate instead of react. You experiment instead of complain. And over time, something powerful happens. You stop fearing uncertainty because you trust your ability to adjust. That trust becomes confidence, not loud confidence. Quiet, grounded confidence. The kind that doesn't panic when the plan changes. The kind that recalculates instantly. Final reality. Extraordinary individuals are not rigid statues. They are strategic shapeshifters. Calm, observant, adjustable. The crowd resists change. You harness it. And when conditions shift, and they always do, you won't break. You will pivot. You will recalibrate. You will reposition. And while others are scrambling, you will already be moving. That is tactical adaptability. And it is one of the clearest signs you are no longer operating like the masses. Step 7. Choose long-term positioning over short-term victory. This is the final separation. This is where the extraordinary detach from impulse and begin thinking in decades instead of days. The masses are addicted to immediate wins. They want to win the argument, win the comment section, win the moment, win the ego battle. But extraordinary individuals understand something the crowd refuses to accept. Short-term emotional victories often sabotage long-term strategic positioning. And positioning is everything. Stop fighting every battle. You do not need to respond to every insult. You do not need to correct every misunderstanding. You do not need to prove yourself in every room. Ask yourself before reacting. Does this matter in 5 years? Does this strengthen my reputation? Does this build my leverage? Does this advance my mission? If the answer is no, let it go. Silence is sometimes the highest move. When you conserve your energy, you accumulate power. When you waste it on trivial conflicts, you remain average. Think in compounding cycles. Extraordinary people understand compounding. Reputation compounds. Skill compounds. Relationships compound. Discipline compounds. But only if you protect them. One emotional outburst can damage years of reputation. One reckless decision can undo months of momentum. One ego-driven argument can fracture strategic alliances. You are not just living today. You are shaping your long-term positioning. Positioning determines opportunity. Opportunity determines trajectory. Trajectory determines legacy. Protect your name like an asset. Your reputation is not built through grand gestures. It is built through consistent behavior under pressure. Are you stable when challenged? Measured when criticized? Fair when given authority? Calm when others panic? People are always observing, not always openly, but always quietly. If you respond emotionally in moments of tension, that becomes your identity. If you respond strategically, that becomes your brand. And brand positioning influences how others treat you long-term. Think carefully before sacrificing your name for a temporary emotional release. Resist the urge to chase attention. The crowd chases visibility. They want applause, recognition, immediate validation. But attention without foundation collapses. Extraordinary individuals focus on building substance first. Depth before noise. Skill before spotlight. Position before publicity. Because when substance is strong, recognition becomes inevitable. But when recognition comes before substance, collapse follows. Ask yourself, am I building something durable or just something loud? Durable wins in the long run. Delay gratification relentlessly. Short-term pleasure is seductive. Comfort, ease, instant reaction, quick rewards. But long-term positioning requires discipline, You choose skill building over scrolling, reputation over retaliation, strategy over impulse, patience over ego. Delayed gratification builds internal strength. It conditions your nervous system to tolerate discomfort without collapsing. And discomfort tolerance is one of the rarest advantages in a distracted world. Think like an architect, not a fighter. The masses fight. They react. They escalate. They defend. The extraordinary architect, they ask, where do I want to stand in 10 years? What alliances should I build? What habits must I eliminate? What skill will differentiate me long term? Architects think in structure. Fighters think in moments. Moments fade. Structure endures. When to strike, when to step back. Choosing long-term positioning does not mean passivity. It means discernment. Sometimes you must assert boundaries. Sometimes you must correct behavior. Sometimes you must act decisively. But when you do, it is measured. It is intentional. It serves positioning, not ego. You strike strategically, not emotionally. You step back strategically, not fearfully. Both are power when chosen consciously. Emotional control amplified over time. This step integrates everything before it. Emotional control prevents reckless responses. Silence prevents unnecessary exposure. Micro-influence builds alliances. Isolation sharpens skill. Adaptability refines strategy. Long-term positioning weaves them together. You stop living reactively. You begin living intentionally. You start asking, is this strengthening my future self? If not, decline it. Why this is rare. The group mind cannot think beyond the current emotional wave. It is driven by trends, outrage cycles, comparison, and impulse. It wants instant feedback. But you are no longer playing that game. You are building leverage quietly. While others chase applause, you build authority. While others argue, you refine competence. While others scatter, you consolidate. Over years, this difference becomes massive. The gap widens silently. And one day, the distance between you and the crowd is undeniable. Final perspective. Becoming extraordinary is not about dramatic moments. It is about consistent, strategic restraint. Choosing discipline when emotion rises. Choosing silence when provoked. Choosing patience when rushed. Choosing structure over impulse. Short-term victories satisfy ego. Long-term positioning builds legacy. You must decide, do you want to win today or dominate the next decade? The crowd will always fight for today. But if you commit to positioning, calmly, strategically, relentlessly, you won't just win moments. You will control direction. And direction, sustained over time, is what makes someone truly extraordinary. You've just been handed a blueprint, not for fitting in, not for surviving, but for separating. 7 disciplines, 7 shifts, 7 decisions that pull you out of the group mind and into strategic control. But here is the truth most people won't admit. Knowledge changes nothing. Implementation changes everything. You can feel inspired right now. You can nod in agreement. You can tell yourself, that makes sense. And then tomorrow, you drift back into reaction, back into noise, back into comfort, back into emotional impulse. That is how potential dies. Quietly, repeatedly, conveniently. The masses don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they refuse discipline. They avoid self-assessment because it hurts. They avoid emotional control because it feels unnatural. They avoid silence because it exposes insecurity. They avoid isolation because distraction is easier. They avoid adaptability because ego resists correction. They avoid long-term positioning because short-term gratification is addictive. And if you ignore this advice, you won't collapse dramatically. You will stagnate. You will argue small battles while others build quietly. You will react emotionally while others position strategically. You will seek attention while others accumulate leverage. You will wonder why progress feels slow, while secretly feeding the habits that keep you average. 5 years from now, you will look around and realize the disciplined have advanced, the strategic have compounded, the calm have risen, and the reactive are still fighting yesterday's arguments. That is the cost. Not humiliation, not failure. Worse, irrelevance. But here's the other side. If you truly commit to these principles, if you audit yourself without ego, if you delay reaction consistently, if you master silence, if you practice daily micro-influence, if you train in isolation, if you adapt without pride, if you think in decades instead of days, you will become difficult to provoke, difficult to manipulate, difficult to outpace. You will move differently, calmer, sharper, more deliberate. Opportunities will begin to align not because you chased them, but because you positioned for them. People will sense your composure. They will respect your restraint. They will notice your growth. And most of all, you will respect yourself. So here is your call to action. Choose one step. Start today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today, conduct the audit, delay the reaction, protect the hour of isolation, speak less, observe more, stack the disciplines. Because extraordinary is not born in a moment of motivation. It is forged in repeated restraint. And time does not slow down for the undecided. The world is shifting faster than ever. The distracted will fall behind. The reactive will be controlled. The undisciplined will be overwhelmed. But the strategic, they will rise quietly. Decide which side you stand on. Because the crowd will always exist. The question is, will you drift with it, or will you outgrow it?